Thank you very much. Just, you know, I get used to be on this stage, and I really like it. This time around, I will talk about competition. And I would like to talk not about the competition among athletes. I don't want to talk about competition among species, and I don't want to talk about competitions among corporations. I would like to talk about competition among countries. Countries compete. Since the day we are born, we are given a bundle of rights and obligations, a bundle of opportunities and challenges. And these come together with our citizenship. And this fact would affect our ability to have more comfortable lives. This fact will affect our ability to improve on ourselves and to improve on our environment. This fact would affect a very deep, intimate experience, that of personal happiness. So, citizenship matters to all of us. And countries compete. Countries compete in a range of very sophisticated ways, giving more or less opportunities to us as their citizens. They compete in forming cartels. Cartels might be more successful in some occasions than in other occasions. Countries compete using dumping. It can be labor dumping, eco-dumping. It can be tax dumping. Countries compete also cross-subsidizing activities and channeling efforts and funds to places which they consider to be more important for survival and success. So, to wrap things until now, you should have understood that my argument is that countries compete, they do that in sophisticated ways, and that this process affects everybody here. How do we know whether our team is losing or winning? Where do we see the evidence of this country competition? Well, we see that in really a sea of information. There are country rankings, and they're really flooding the information space around us. And country rankings would be almost about everything. Country rankings range from issues such as global competitiveness to human development to entrepreneurial activity to social progress to whatever you can think of. There would be a ranking, and your country, the chances are, is in that list somewhere. Well, this information is very frequently presented in infographics, world maps, and simple tables. So the information is there. But stories have to be created. And the way stories are created out of this data is utterly important. It's utterly important for us. For some countries, stories are created, stories that make them look really cool. Other countries are the bad guys in the story. So their stories are negative. Their stories are affecting the perception of their own citizens and others in a negative way. So which story will be around in the media, in the internet space, matters enormously. On the 1st of January 2014, a rather formal regulatory aspect of labor mobility was removed for Bulgarian and Romanian citizens seeking jobs in EU countries. This made headlines in the United Kingdom. And Bulgarian and Romanian citizens felt very deeply insulted by the discussion and the information in the public space and the way it was presented by the media. The two countries, known to be the two poorest nations in the club of the richest 28 EU countries, were pictured as an endless source of trouble for a more affluent subgroup of EU members, and in particular the UK. So this piece of data about Bulgarian and Romanian citizen GDP per capita served as an input to create a story. And the story was much richer and had much broader implications than the simple data that the journalist that made the story actually had available. So what I'd like to show you here is a study, and some people, some students in the room were instrumental in building this research, and I'd like to thank them for that. And I also would like to tell you that this research is also supported by an amazing Bulgarian startup company that is in the business of business and media analytics. So let me tell you what we did with the brain power of people in this room and the amazing technology of Cometric. We collected data on 23 countries in the world that were considered to be transition and developing for the most part. And we collected the stories that were told about these countries in 6 super influential venues, media, that would definitely set the tone for how attractive these countries were for foreign investment. So our countries belong to 2 regions. One is former communist countries and Southeastern European countries, and the other is Latin America. What is common between them? What is common is that if you look at the data, objective measures of how well these countries fare in this global competition to become more business friendly, all these countries are making progress. All of our countries in the sample are getting important improvements on an index called Doing Business Index, and it is made available to the world by the World Bank on a yearly basis. So all the countries should be source of telling good stories, because all of them were making progress for between 2007 and 2013. Well, was this a result of our study? I would like now to show you a very description of what will be kind of the a main message here. First, we found that the more stories are told in these very influential outlets for the countries in our sample, the more the negative stories that are told about them. So, in one short sentence, these countries, or at least an important part of the group that we had, were not getting the credit for the progress they were making objectively measured, as far as it can be objective at all if we're talking here about social processes. And their success was not celebrated by the media. Well, we looked at this from a closer perspective. What we found is that there were patterns that differ between what we observed for the Latin American subgroup and what we observed for countries in former Eastern Bloc. For the Latin American region, between 2007 and 2013, the story was positive. Countries in the region were getting more and more coverage to celebrate their progress in international competitiveness. And this is excellent news for the region. What happened to former communist countries? What happened to Southeastern Europe? Well, there was not such a positive pattern at all. And we had to definitely conclude, after looking at our data set, that yes, countries compete, yes, they make progress. This can be tracked in a number of indices. However, not everybody's progress is celebrated. Not all countries get a fair chance to have their story told in a positive way. So, I will now tell you two stories of one country. And this country will be Bulgaria. And you'll pick the story that you like most. And I will start with a measure of how well Bulgaria is doing on an index called the Social Progress Index. This is a multidiscipline initiative that started at a pilot level in 2013. So you're looking at the data presented in December last year at a workshop I happened to attend, and you'll see that in the pilot project, only 50 countries were included. You can see the list, they are quite diverse. And Bulgaria is in the pool, and it comes as 17 out of 50. It is squeezed between Israel, the startup nation, the nation whose incredible entrepreneurial spirit and art in business the whole world celebrates. And it is just above Brazil. And Brazil is one of the most important countries in the BRIC country group, on which the whole globe bets its progress for future growth. And Bulgaria is there. Well, if you even take a closer look at the data, you will see that along this social progress index, there is more good news coming. Note that the social progress index would not be measuring only per capita income. It will include two aspects that matter enormously for our quality of life. First, it will be the ability to live a comfortable, convenient life and interact with our co-citizens. And second, it will measure our relation and integration with the natural environment surrounding us. You want to know how Bulgaria is doing there? Well, you see this graph. And on this graph, you can clearly look that Bulgaria is not even doing at average level. We're above the average. So, if we control for our per capita income, we actually get better quality of life for the money that we are making here. Okay? Do you think the journalist who wrote those materials on Bulgarians and Romanians had a chance to look at this data? Maybe they had. Because there is data to make up almost every story. And with the same data, I will now tell you another story. And this one will be depressing. It will be again for Bulgaria. So, you know that year after year, we have national news and headlines, and we are popularly known as the saddest place on earth because Bulgarians report extremely low levels of happiness when compared to others. So here on this graph, we are outliers once again. And for the quality of life that we have extraordinary low level of satisfaction with our life. And that is amazing. And you can take this and you can make up a whole different story, and it will be so much in line with what is our reputation internationally, or at least in the UK, that is for sure. So guys, it is up to us and to you to make the story of your country if you don't like the stories that are told right now. Because nobody else will do it. It is not the data that matters. It is the story that you build around the data. And if you are not able to celebrate your own success when there is success, nobody else will. International competition is sophisticated and unfair. You can change this if you're unhappy of how things turn for you and for your families and for your kids. So if you'd like to change the story that is told about who you are, then you have to tell the own, original, unique, and engaging stories that would earn admiration. And this is my message for you. Thank you so much.